Hey, hey, hey. Happy Wednesday. Come on in. Pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, incredibly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Wednesday, June 7th, 2023. This is live stream 929. If you're not overly familiar with this show, let me point out, super casual around here. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news. And normally we'll actually take a first look at a tabletop game. Now, the month of June, a little bit different because sprinkled throughout, we are also going to tackle some reviews. So this week, it's all reviews. And tonight, I will be reviewing Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay Empire in Ruins from Cubicle 7 Entertainment. Yes, this is the finale of the Enemy Within campaign. I will be sharing my thoughts about this in just a bit. So keep in mind, we're not engaged in rocket surgery by any stretch of the imagination around here. So if you are tuning in for the live review, I do want to mention we always tackle the tabletop gaming news first. So it's probably going to be about 40 minutes before I dive on into the review and a bit of a page through as well. So if you're watching live, kick back, relax, put your feet up. Happy hump day. If you happen to be watching this 30 minutes or more after the show is ended, there will be timestamps. They are located in the show notes. You can just jump past tabletop gaming news if you would like. But I got some cool news tonight. I always have cool news. I try to cherry pick stuff that I find to be interesting to share with you. So keep in mind, though, if you want to jump past, if you're impatient, you just got to get to that review. It's okay. I understand. Should also mention that depending on the device you happen to be watching this on, those timestamps might be right there in the timeline of the video, making it super convenient. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com. The bigger and bolder thegaminggang.com website for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you will not find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Lastly, because this is a live stream, that means there is chat available. It's not on screen. That's one of the ways that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. And you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least 48 hours before you can take part in chat. Yet another way that I keep some of those unusual commenters at bay. But if you want to say howdy, maybe you've got a question, a comment, maybe there's something with Empire in Ruins you want a closer look at, by all means, chime in and I will do my best to respond. First out the gate tonight in chat is Mark Dandy. We also have Kathy Evans, Roger Prudhomme, Stray Kismet, and Russell Higgins, and Malwinius from York just popped in as well. So welcome, everybody. Good to see you all on a happy hump day. So do want to mention all this week, the Gaming Gang Dispatch is being sponsored by Armored Gaming and their night role-playing game, Kickstarter. Hail and well met. Night is a tabletop storytelling and role-playing game where you and your friends get to live out your nightly chivalric fantasy with your friends. It's inspired by Welsh myth, The Legends of King Arthur, the King Arthur Pendragon role-playing game by Chaosium, which we talked about a little bit yesterday, Into the Odd by Chris McDowell, The Forged in the Dark games begun by John Harper, and Microscope by Ben Robbins. In this game, you're a knight, though exactly what sort of knight is up to you. Perhaps you're a valorous tourney knight, skilled with the lance, or a master of occult lore. Perhaps you're a manipulator in the courts with your spies whispering secrets in your ear, or a battlefield commander ready to protect the realm. Whoever you create, your knight undoes evil and protects the innocent in Avalon, a fantastic land of myth and magic. You may slay monsters, drive back barbarian hordes, woo a spouse for power, fall in love with someone else, and die dueling your brother to the death for honor. The game isn't just about your knight, though. Between quests, time passes, and the game provides procedures that tell grander stories. Perhaps your lands may be beset by raids, or a pagan faith appeals to give them safe harbor, and you or someone in your house may find themselves in an illicit affair. You also create factions and points of interest around the world, which become, in turn, the seeds for later quests. This game is designed to be welcoming to any who wish to strap on armor and fight for glory. There are no limitations to creating individuals of many types of faith, ideal, gender, or other personal identity, concept, or disposition. Finally, your first character is not your last. In time, as your knights die or retire, their heirs take over the leadership of the house. When you've played 3 generations of knights, the campaign is over. This Kickstarter campaign is over half funded. You can secure the hardcover for a pledge of around $27. It's based on exchange rate. Or you can get just the PDF with a pledge of around $14. This campaign does run through June 19th. I will point out we should have an opportunity to take a look at night prior to the end of this campaign. Fingers crossed. So, kind of interesting. This seems, and we had mentioned this last night's chat, brought this up. In fact, I think it was Kevin R. Smith, who is with us once again, pointing out that it seemed like maybe this is kind of a rules light Pendragon. And it is kind of the vibe that I get as well. So thank you very much to Armored Gaming for sponsoring the Gaming Gang Dispatch this week. Very nice, very nice. So got plenty of news tonight. There is a news piece. I don't know if it's really a news piece. It is news that I'm sure some of you have encountered. I'm going to talk a little bit about it after we talk about like news. But yes, I am aware that Upper Deck is suing Ravensburger for theft of a game. Well. So we'll talk about that. After the news, Tessie Trekkie chimes on into chat. Good to see you. A new family-friendly flicking game, say that 5 times fast, is currently up for crowdfunding on Kickstarter. I've got the skinny on Mini PLAKKS from PLAKKS. Mini PLAKKS is a fast-paced and exciting wooden football game, soccer to us here in the U.S., that's perfect for players of all ages. Made from recyclable materials, this game is not only fun, but also environmentally friendly. Players can customize their players with their favorite teams. Players can customize their players? Okay. Creating a unique and personalized experience every time they play. The game features a set of wooden sticks that represent the football players on the field, and players must use their skill and strategy to beat their opponent. The game is played as follows. Start shooting. After the initial draw, one of the players starts by kicking the ball with his finger. That would be flicking. I don't know if you kick with a finger. To try to score a goal. Then it's the opponent's turn. The opponent kicks from where the ball ends up, and so on until one of the two opponents scores a goal. Goal! Yeah, I know I'm not anywhere near as powerfully lunged as that one announcer. The opponent who has conceded a goal has to remove one of his players and kick off from the point within his penalty area. Whoever has managed to leave their opponent without any players, including the goalkeeper, is the winner. With its high-quality components and extensive customization options, PLAKKS is the perfect game to enjoy the most epic football matches with your friends and family. Whether you're a passionate football fan or just looking for a fun and competitive game, PLAKKS is sure to provide you with hours of entertainment and excitement. There is a short Kickstarter video. Actually, it's about 3 hours. 3 minutes long. Yeah, it's a short video. It's only 3 hours long. There you go. There you go. So kick back, pop some popcorn. Watch the 3-hour Kickstarter video for PLAKKS. It's 3 minutes, for crying out loud. So kick back. Let's give it a watch.
How to play? You have to score a goal to the opponent by kicking the ball with your finger. Each opponent throws where the ball stands, and when you score a goal, your opponent has to remove a player. Whoever is left without players loses. This easy. To many of you, this game may sound familiar. If we were to rewind in time, in 2022, we launched PLAKKS in a Kickstarter campaign. In 2020, we launched the pitch in PLAKKS. And in 2019, we started the project with our first game ever, PLAKKS. The first game ever was designed with by hand, and now, 4 years later, PLAKKS has become the best seller, with a result of thousands of customers sharing happy and fun moments in their homes. It is present in more than 50 countries, and very influential people are becoming authentic plackers. And now, after reading all of your comments, we have created the mini version. But no, not so mini. This mini, and with some of the additions that you have asked us. By making it mini, we have been able to reduce its final price by a 50% approximately. Its dimensions make it easier for you to take it to play wherever you want. Now you can use the goalkeeper to make epic saves, which with the previous PLAKKS, you couldn't. Use your best strategy and create the lineup that allows you to beat your opponent. And finally, the cards. This new addition to the game adds excitement, surprise, and can change the match in seconds. So now with mini PLAKKS, the victory is not as easy. And you may wonder, is Mini PLAKKS for me? Of course, it can be for you and for your loved ones. From PLAKKS, we seek to reduce the time we spend in front of the screen to spend more quality time face-to-face with our loved ones.
Yes, that guy in the green kit is taking this shit way too seriously. It's like, dude, it's just a dexterity game, man. Just relax, step away from the table. You also notice he was pretty short. So, I don't know about you folks out there, but I've had some issues with shorter folks in the past. I'm kidding. Mini PLAKKS is for 2 to 4 players. Yes, that's right. You can have multiple players on a side. One person's controlling the goaltender, the other person's flicking the ball. It's for ages, I don't know, 6 and up. I know here it says 5, but don't 5-year-olds swallow stuff still? You can reserve a copy of Mini PLAKKS for a pledge of around $35. Once again, depends on the exchange rate. Now, this is from, I think this is coming out of Barcelona, if I remember correctly. This Kickstarter does run through July 4th. This is already funded. It is way, way funded. Expected delivery is this November. Looks like it could be fun. Now, one thing I did run across, if you were watching that 3-hour video, then you saw that the goal was kind of moving around. It was moving all over the place as somebody was controlling the goaltender. They have redesigned that. So they have redesigned the goal so that the goal will not like move around. So, because I had noticed that, I was like, whoa, that looks awful. It was like, and then I encountered in the actual project and all the sell sheet info in it, it does point out that, yes, they changed that design. All right, who did we have sneak in? Christopher Rush and William Hellizice is with us in chat. William says that they saw this as a kid in a 5 and dime store. I don't know. I have no idea. I like how Kevin was quoting Star Trek II as far as minutes can seem like hours. And Darius Termina is also hanging out in chat. Tessie Trek, he says, family-friendly flicking. Sounds like the old 80s cricket game Test Match. So many children lost eyes to those steel ball-bearing cricket balls. Jeez. Okie dokie. On to our next news piece. Arriving this summer from KOSMOS is Legends of Andor, the Eternal Frost. Here's the latest. An unnatural cold is spreading across the land of Andor. Pick your hero and work together in search of the source of this dark magic. Your path leads you to a land you have never seen before, far away in the east. Here, too, a vast, snowy landscape awaits you. Your adventures draw you closer and closer to the secret of the Eternal Frost, until finally you face an incredibly strong adversary. Only by working together will you be brave enough to face this dark menace. This is the newest addition to the award-winning Legends of Andor series. It's a standalone cooperative strategy game where players take on the role of heroes in their quest to save their beloved land of Andor from a mysterious dark magic that has caused an unnatural and endless frost. There's a double-sided game board which reveals new allies and unexpected dangers. Multiple scenarios allow for variety and increased playability. This is a perfect activity for a wholesome game night with family and friends. Wholesome, huh? Okay, I guess. Legends of Andor, The Eternal Frost is for 2 to 4 players, ages 10 and up, plays around 60 to 90 minutes. It's going to carry an MSRP of $49.95 when it hits stores in August. I would take a stab that this is going to be a Gen Con release for KOSMOS. Just a guess. I like Legends of Andor. And then there was another, it was a smaller footprint game. Gosh, I want to say off the top of my head, it's Liberation of Reitberg, something like that. Something along those lines. That was pretty cool too. So here is a new Legends of Andor game. And I'm going to take a guess, probably plays a little bit differently than, say, just Legends of Andor. So we shall find out. Later this month is going to see the release of the latest supplement for the second edition of the Frostgrave Miniatures game. Here's the lowdown on the Wild Woods from Osprey Games. And I am sharing some images of the, I want to say it's Northwinds Miniatures that does an exclusive line of Frostgrave minis. The supplement brings a new dimension to games of Frostgrave, allowing players to lead expeditions into the wilderness north of the city, searching for undiscovered ruins and facing the perils of the Wild Woods. For years, spellcasters have flocked to the frozen city, braving the perils of its ruins in the hunt for relics and forgotten magic. While the city still holds many such secrets, newly arrived wizards must delve deeper and fight harder to make their mark. A few turn from the city, seeking instead the remote settlements that surrounded ancient Felstad. Such expeditions are not without their own dangers, however. In the vast forests of the Wildwoods, death lurks in the empty cookpot and torn waterskin, in the cold of night and the looming storm, and in the teeth and claws of the beast behind the next tree. The supplement for Frostgrave, Fantasy Wargames in the Frozen City, takes players beyond the ruins with rules for running expeditions in search of secret places and forgotten treasures in the dark wildwoods. New soldiers and magic items may improve wizards' chances of survival, but dwindling supplies, the hostile environment, and terrifying new creatures will push them to their limits in a range of scenarios set in these deep, foreboding forests. The 96-page softcover of Frostgrave, The Wildwood, will carry an MSRP of $30, or you can grab the PDF for $24 when they arrive on June 28th. And I will point out, I do not have it down here in the Duct Tape Studios, but I got a copy of this from Osprey Games. Strangely enough, because I don't have any other Frostgrave releases. So it's like, it's like, I don't, and it just showed up out of nowhere. There was absolutely no advance notice. It just arrived. So I have reached out to my contact with Osprey Games to find out, because, to be honest, I've never even seen the second edition of Frostgrave. So, don't know. So, like I said, it's a little unusual. So, and then, of course, I had reached out for review copies of the latest Undaunted and never saw those. So I was very surprised that they showed up, because, to be honest, I thought maybe Osprey Games didn't want to have anything to do with me anymore. So I don't know. Because remember, I'm doing a review of Hard City tomorrow. And I had sent some of the Osprey stuff to somebody who was going to do reviews and shoot video, and then they never did. And I just got the stuff back. Well, got it back about 3 weeks ago, because I've had enough time to look over and read everything for review. Well, not everything, but for reviews. So I don't know. I have no idea, but we will take a look at this. In fact, maybe we'll sneak it in next week or the week after that, because it comes out the 28th. I'll make sure that we arrange to get a peek at it before it hits stores. Game Master's Hobby is joining us, as is Kevin King. So welcome to you both. And Melody says, reminds them a bit of Mistfall from the graphic style, though Andor was there before Mistfall. I got to be honest, I'm not familiar with Mistfall. I am a little familiar with Andor, although I've only played 2 of the Andor series. So Game Master's Hobby says, Frostgrave, curious about 2nd edition. So am I. So Melody says they didn't know that the Asterisk Grave series was by Osprey Games, because they connect Osprey with the Undaunted games. Yes, and Osprey Games does some role-playing games too, some pretty cool stuff. Jackals is one. Tell you right now, Hard City is cool. I like Hard City. I think it really presents noir very nicely. You'll find out more about it tomorrow. So let's talk about saving some money, because there is a new bundle of holding which has arrived. You can score huge savings on the Lex Arcana role-playing game. Yes, from Acheron Games. Here's the deets on the deal. Valet Costos. This all-new Lex Arcana bundle presents the tabletop historical fantasy role-playing game from Italian design team Quality Games, published by Acheron Games, of a magical Roman Empire that never fell. Travel the known world to study arcane lore, uncover conspiracies, and battle dangerous supernatural creatures. It's Cthulhu Invictus meets The X-Files. The HBO Max Rome series meets The Witcher. Dive into the mysteries and dangers of ancient Rome. The Emperor Commands. Co-designed by Francesco Nepatello, the beautiful Lex Arcana 2nd edition rulebook was funded in a big September 2018 Kickstarter campaign. Get the complete 310-page rulebook, 4 gorgeous full-color setting guides, and 10 scenarios for an unbeatable bargain price. For just $17.95, you'll get all 3 full-color titles in the starter collection, which have a retail value of $65, as DRM-free PDFs, including the Lex Arcana core rulebook, plus the free quick start, and the setting source books Italia and Encyclopedia Arcana. If you pay more than the current threshold price, this was currently as of like this afternoon, so it may have changed by a few pennies. But if you pay more than the, at the time, threshold price of $31.90, you will level up and also get the entire bonus collection with 3 more supplements worth an additional $56, including the campaign sourcebooks Dacia and Thracia and Egyptus, and the 10 scenario collection Mysteries of the Empire. These savings run through June 26th, and 10% of your payment after gateway fees will be donated to Direct Relief. So essentially, what's going on here is you can get your hands on just about everything that has been published for Lex Arcana from Quality Games and Acheron Games for $31.90. I think just the PDF of Lex Arcana alone, I think it's $19.99, something along those lines. Now, I did review the core rulebook. This is a really interesting setting. I got to be honest, I found the mechanics to be relatively clunky, and the character creation setup is really obtuse. Gotta be honest. I've got all the stuff. In fact, I believe I've got all these books. Acheron Games had sent them along. We have taken a look at some of them. I will do some more reviews because I did read Dacia and Thracia, or Thracia, I should say, and found it interesting. Like I said, the setting is really cool. What I would look to do is try to tweak the mechanics, or maybe, I know this is sacrilege, right? So I'm always talking about cribbing from games for other games. I would maybe look to use like basic role playing for it. Take Cthulhu Invictus, utilize that, because like I said, the actual setting itself and the adventures are pretty interesting. They really are. So Flaming Heron is with us. So good to see him. He is our current chat moderator, hanging out right now. Although I would take a guess, we may have Sarah D lurking behind the scene to make sure everybody's staying well behaved. So Kevin says this might be worth it for a cheap enough price, mostly because it might be an idea generator for other fantastic Roman era campaigns. Bingo. Yes, completely agree. Kevin and I tend to be on the same page quite often. Let's see. Yep, Kevin says definitely a good source for Cthulhu Invictus with some tweaks. Disavow 92 is joining us. There's Sarah D peeking out. I had a feeling she might be watching tonight. So let's move on to our final news piece. Twilight 2000 Urban Operations is now out in PDF from Free League Publishing. Here's what I know. Urban Operations, the first expansion to the new edition of RPG classic Twilight 2000, is a massive modular expansion that includes everything you need to play in, you guessed it, urban environments. The expansion is loosely based on the classic module Free City of Krakow from the first edition of Twilight 2000, but designed to be used in any city environment. This box set includes new combat and travel rules for urban environments, close quarters fighting, new factions for the PCs to tangle with, new scenario sites to explore, and introduces the new plot concept to create longer story arcs. Yay! Hooray! Talk about that in just a moment. It also describes the two sample towns. Wouldn't they be cities? Krakow and Carlsberg in text and maps. Yeah, those are cities. I wouldn't say they're towns, especially in the year 2000. The box set includes a 96-page book stuffed with new rules and gaming material, 16 new encounter cards for use in any town or city, 10 modular battle maps for urban environments, 4 modular battle maps for close quarters combat, 4 scenario site battle maps, 2 of which are for close combat quarters, 54 battle map tokens for debris, sandbags, floor level indicators, blocks, and breaches. There's a double-sided full-color city travel map for the cities of Krakow and Carlsberg. Yes, I'm calling them cities. The sell sheet info says towns, but I am calling them cities. That's how I roll. Also includes a double-sided full-color battle map for the Wawel Castle in Krakow and the Carlsberg Fortress. Interesting. This box set carries an MSRP of $39.99. Do not believe the box set is out just yet. I think it's on its way, but the PDF is out. And you can pick that up over at DriveThruRPG for $19.99. So good news. So we got another Twilight 2000 release. This is actually their first major expansion. And I did talk with my contact over at Free League Publishing, who is just super, super cool. She did mention that they were not sending out review copies of Urban Operations, but they're sending one to me. So we will have an opportunity to check this out in depth. You may recall I had like the first copy of, I want to say, I think this is the 4th edition of Twilight 2000, which was given to me by the folks over at Free League Publishing at Gen Con. And I was the first person to actually share any coverage of it for a few weeks. I mean, I had it in my hands before backers from Kickstarter had it, because I had the only finished box set. It was pretty wild. It was pretty cool. Flaming Heron says, Jeff, you really don't stick to the script. No, not really. Game Master's Hobby says, can't wait to get their hands on that Twilight 2000 box. So I will point out that I mentioned that there are rules for longer story arcs. And that was one of the things that I felt I wasn't super keen on, because, and I know a lot of people dug the fact that it was like just super random, that you were randomly generating all these different storylines with the various decks of cards and encounters, things like that. I kind of like to have a bit of a plot line. Not that I necessarily stick to it, or I don't, just let the players take a complete left turn along the way. I don't have any issue with that, but I like to have kind of an overall sort of like setting. And that is something that the first box set really didn't have. Everything's very random. And although the system itself, it is, I guess it's probably the crunchiest game system that Free League has. It is kind of based on their Year Zero engine, but it uses a variety of different dice and things like that. But even it being one of the crunchier systems that they've got, it's still not super crunchy. So Flaming Heron says, damn, who's a lucky boy? Game Master's Hobby says, nice. Looking forward to watching that Twilight 2000 box review. Yeah, well, I don't know when I'm going to receive it. I do understand that the 2 new releases for Forbidden Lands are on their way. I've also been informed that Dragonbane is going to come my way, although it's not going to arrive until August. So there's that. So yeah, essentially, whatever Free League's releasing, they're sending my way. And I'm looking at maybe doing some interviews with some of the folks behind some of the upcoming releases for games like Vesson and Twilight 2000 and Dragonbane, and we shall see. We shall see what happens. All right, that is it for the news tonight. Of course, I was just mentioning DriveThruRPG. Don't forget, the gaming gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit, say, DriveThruRPG or Dungeon Masters Guild, Storytellers Vault, Wargame Vault, what have you, please stop by thegaminggang.com first, click on one of our banner ads, and that way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. All those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do help keep thegaminggang.com around. Speaking of DriveThruRPG, I'm going to keep mentioning this because I can't tell you what a great, I can't tell you enough what a great deal this is and what an excellent system this is, especially if you are a fan in any way, shape, or form of maybe role-playing, the Age of Conan. But right now, until the end of the month, all of the PDFs for Modiphius Entertainment's Conan Adventures in an Age Undreamed Of are on sale. Now, if you're only picking up just a PDF here or there, 50% off. But all of them together in a bundle, over 90% off. So I think combined, they come out to a retail price of over $440. And you can get them all for $30 right now. So do not miss out. Nero's Fiddle is with us in chat. Tessie Trekkie says, Free League are good people. Yes. Yes, they certainly are. And I got to be honest, they appreciate the gaming gang, which warms the cockles of my heart. Because believe it or not, there are game companies out there who are like, whatever. Yeah, we sent you a review copy. Who cares? Whatever. So, Nero's Fiddle's asking, when is Hard City getting covered tomorrow? The review for it is tomorrow. I'll talk about that a little bit later on. So if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. But if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always stop on by paypal.me/thegaminggang and make a small donation, as did the Madman. Yes, he's not watching tonight. It's his daughter's 21st birthday. Happy birthday. I think it's Samantha whose birthday it is. So happy birthday, Samantha, who did a couple of reviews, 2 or 3 for the Gaming Gang. They're pretty good reviews. And then she decided, yeah, I think going to school is more important, which I completely agree. So yes, the Madman was kind enough to very recently make a not so small donation. So keep in mind, I don't do Kickstarters. I don't do Patreon. I try not to be like trying to reach into your pocket every month or anything like that to like stick around. So it is some ads, some advertising on the website, which is the bigger, bolder, thegaminggang.com. If you haven't checked it out, take a peek. I've had a lot of people tell me that it's not hugely different, but they like where it's like kind of like full screen. And so, there's that. But it's advertising. The affiliate link for the One Bookshelf sites really helps out. That effectively pays for the hosting every month. And I say it all the time. We do not have cheapo hosting because we pull in on average 5,500 to 6,500 unique visitors a day on the website. I tell people all the time, the website is far more popular than this channel is. And people are like, really? And it's like, yep, it is. Anyway, Quantum Phase Dragon is hanging with the gang. Very cool. Nero's Fiddle says, Conan 2D20 is an amazing game. They run it often. And yes, because unfortunately, Morpheus. What am I thinking? Marvel Comics? What? Or the French artist? Wasn't that his nickname? Morpheus? Maybe not. Or maybe I'm thinking of The Matrix. I don't know what the hell I'm thinking of. Because it's Modifius Entertainment, not Morpheus Entertainment. 2 more things. One, I had a viewer last night commented on the show saying they were disappointed in last night's video not being up to my high standards. And I thought, wait a second, what show do you watch? Have you seen this before? But yeah, last night there were some issues, which was throwing me off. Because for one, I hate when something is screwed up. Just like right now, I remember that I forgot to swap out the upcoming intermission video. So I'm like, okay, so I'm going to have to try to real quick change videos because I don't want it to be the same thing you just saw last night. And that's been like floating in the back of my head. So that kind of throws me off. Thank you. Nero's Fiddle is Mobius is the French artist. Yes, also awesome. Yeah, he did a lot of heavy metal. I read heavy metal as a teenager and probably into my very early 20s. So anyway, so my apologies, everybody. You know, I'm a human. I make mistakes. If you watch enough, you know, wrong dates end up in the corner and things like that. And then, of course, last night, at one point, we just started dropping a ton of frames. Now, I'm looking here. We have dropped frames tonight, too. Not as much as last night, but there are some. So it's showing about 5%. So I took a look at last night's video, and there were moments that were rather choppy. So Fleming Heron says, isn't there a Mobius in the Marvel universe? Yeah, he's the vampire. Anyway, so that was throwing me off because I was like, what the hell's going on here? Why are things suddenly different? Now, I will point out, I have changed the codec that I am using. So you may have noticed the videos have been a little bit sharper. They should get much sharper from here on out. Because for one, the videos that I shoot for like reviews and things like that, I couldn't edit the files with that codec. And now I've actually gotten a software that I can. So we should see some sharper videos. So even tonight, you should be getting a bit of a sharper video because this codec can squeeze more information into the file size. So that's what's going on here. So you'll probably notice more when we do the overhead shot. So I think that might be causing some of the lost frames. I don't know. I have no idea. We know it wasn't the actual internet connection last night. So it must be something software-wise. Anywho. So, like I said, sorry last night was, you know, I was a little off. I understand that. But like I said, keep in mind, you know, it's a live show. I'm a human being. Yeah, I've had health issues too. I'm fine. Don't get me wrong. I'm feeling okay in that. But, you know, sometimes, some days I'm just, you know, not feeling too hot. And I, you know, just soldier on through. So, but it wasn't last night. I'm just pointing it out. So there you go. So Melwinius is the heavy metal and comic author is Mobius. Yep. All right. So, yeah, Morpheus is... I know. I don't know why I even thought that. Morpheus is Dream, isn't that right? From Sandman, Neil Gaiman's Sandman. And isn't I think there's another Morpheus. Oh yeah, from The Matrix, I think. I don't know. Regardless, it was Modifius, so whatever. Right. Other thing is that I ran across something on Twitter. It was a tweet from Upper Deck. Upper Deck is suing Ravensburger over Lorcana, the trading card game that's coming out. I don't think it's out yet. I think it's coming out. I thought it, off the top of my head, I thought it's like a July release, which is a Disney trading card game. So Upper Deck says they are suing Ravensburger because the game is stolen from them. So they're suing Ravensburger and a game designer. That's what the announcement says. You can actually go to Upper Deck Entertainment's website. They have a post there. I tried to find more information. Nothing's floating around out there. So there is no record of the suit being filed that's been shared. Because, of course, that would be a big deal. That if they have filed suit, I don't know if this is something that Upper Deck thought, well, we're gonna mention this on social media first and put the fear into Ravensburger, or what? I do not know. But they're claiming that Lorcana was a game that they paid to develop, and the game designer stole the game and made a deal with Ravensburger. So I would say that we are looking at probably pretty good head-to-head there, because Upper Deck's a good-sized company. So is Ravensburger. So Upper Deck is probably far more well-known here in the U.S., whereas Ravensburger is known, worldwide for like puzzles and things like that. So Melwinia says Upper Deck has a decent system with their Legendary series. I like the Legendary, I've played Aliens. I thought that was really well done, and my nephew Cameron and his friends liked it a lot. So Melwinia says if Ravensburger copied it, it's a shame. I don't think it is Legendary or Versus. I think, now once again, I don't know, because all that's really out there at this moment, well, okay, take that back. All that was out there when I encountered this tweet, and I saw the tweet about 2-3 minutes after it was tweeted. All that I could find was their announcement on their website. So reading between the lines, it didn't seem like they were infringing on copyright, Ravensburger, by producing Lorcana, that it was a game that was designed in-house at Upper Deck. You'll have to take a look at their announcement, because they're essentially saying that they paid for the development of this game. So, Tessie Trekkies pointing out, in the U.S., you can only copyright a game's rules, not patent the mechanics. Yep. So, Kevin says, Ravensburger is just a licensee, so Disney might not have their back. You are right on the money about that. That's why I'm pointing out, Upper Deck's not suing Disney. They're suing Ravensburger. So, I thought that was kind of interesting. We will look to see what develops. All right. So I will be diving on into my review of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, Empire in Ruins, in just a few moments. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
For your convenience, we have an attractive snack stand with a parade of items to tempt your taste. Buttered popcorn, golden good and hot from the popper, sizzling hot dogs, cradled in fresh, fluffy buns, ice cream treats and other good things to eat, plus ice-cold Coca-Cola. So bright, so bracing, with the taste and tingle all its own. Pause and refresh with a Coke at our snack stand. Right now.
Boy, I'd give $1 million for a cup of Wilkins coffee.
Okay, Buster, pay up.
I am the Remco Frogman. On land, a commando with rifle, watch, crash helmet, and walkie-talkie.
Frogman alert! Change to underwater gear.
Spear gun, weight belt with shark knife, face mask, aqua lungs. My orders: explore shallow water with snorkel. My motor-driven propeller powers me. My flippers guide me. The deep dive. A dangerous assignment. New worlds, new adventure. Marker boy tracks me. Too deep, too deep. Lifeline brings me to the surface. The realistic Remco Frogman is now available wherever fine toys are sold. $11.98 for both land and water. Remember, every boy wants a Remco toy, and so do girls.
That Frogman is massive. That toy had to be 2.5 feet tall, maybe 2 feet. Pretty wild. So as far as the Upper Deck Ravensburger deal, Kevin points out sounds like a contract infringement suit. This is what I thought personally. Violating a provision that Upper Deck owns anything the employee created while working for them. On a side note, I have had a handful of employers who wanted to hire me, who hit me up with one of those clauses where anything I would create, even if it had nothing to do with that job or that company, and I was in the privacy of my own home, would belong to them. And I was like, oh, absolutely not. Sorry. Bye-bye. Not interested. Yes. Tessie Trekkie says, let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby and run from the movie monsters. So I actually did a like audio enhancement in that video. I made sure that it was actually in sync, because if you ever see that little let's all go to the lobby, it's out of sync. Did all that, uploaded it to make sure I would not get a copyright violation, and boom, got a copyright violation. That's why you will never see me share the let's all go to the lobby. I have it. I have it all nice and cleaned up. Can't use it. Speaking of copyright infringement, I get really tired of like a video that's been up for like 2 years. Suddenly I get like a flag saying, oh, this 20-second clip of music is now copyright. You can't monetize your video anymore. It's like, yeah, okay. I just go in and make sure that I get rid of that music. And then it's like, okay, now I can monetize all I want. All right, so without further ado, I am going to share my review of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay Empire in Ruins from Cubicle 7 Entertainment. It's written by Graham Davis, Dave Allen, John Foody, T.S. Lucart, my buddy T.S., Patrick Murphy, Clive Oldfield, not Oldenfield, Oldfield, Dylan Owen, Anthony Reagan, Casey Shee, and Simon Wildman. This 208-page hardcover carries an MSRP of $44.99, where you can grab just the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG for $22.99. So there is some discussion of big G.I. Joes. Yes, they were about a foot tall. They were certainly not as big as that Frogman. Swing on over to the other camera, because here I've got Empire in Ruins. A few things I do want to mention before I dive on in. First of all, the fine folks over at Cubicle 7 Entertainment were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the gaming gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this review with you. These days, it's important that you know that as Omenal and Agent Especial are both with us in chat. Also, got to point out, we're not going to take a look at each and every page in this, but I do want to give you a good feel for what you'll find inside Empire in Ruins. Also, this is the finale of the director's cut of the Enemy Within campaign. So this is an adventure. So if you are a player and your game master is currently running the Enemy Within, or you're hoping they're going to run the Enemy Within, then I would definitely recommend tune out now. Because even though I'm going to stay as spoiler-free as possible, there will be some spoilers just because of just random pages that we'll encounter. Some things will get spoiled. So important to keep that in mind. But of course, you can always let your game master know about this video so they can approach the Enemy Within and Empire in Ruins in order to make an informed buying decision. Anthony Good is also hanging with the gang tonight. So Omenal says, we're cheated not getting the companion with the basic Empire in Ruins. I will mention something about that in just a bit. All right, so we're going to jump on in. First thing I will mention is, as far as the production quality, this is pretty much what we've come to expect from Cubicle 7 Entertainment and the Enemy Within campaign. So really nicely done. Artwork throughout is pretty good, pretty solid. Although some of the artwork I found to be kind of generic in this release. Now, this is quite a bit longer than the other adventures. If I remember off the top of my head, they were around 128, 144 pages. This is 208 pages. So let's discuss a few aspects of this. So if we go back to the first edition of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, one of the most highly regarded role-playing game campaigns is The Enemy Within. But it's the early parts of The Enemy Within that people really look back on fondly. It is not the conclusion. So the conclusion originally was Empire in Flames, and a lot of people really disliked it intensely. So one of the big deals with this director's cut was to completely change the finale of the campaign. So they have. Now, there is a ton going on in this adventure. Far more, in my opinion, than any previous chapter before this. And also, in my opinion, there is too much going on. There are too many NPCs. There are too many talking heads that the game master has to juggle. And this has been something with other adventures, other chapters in this campaign that have made some of the adventures, some portions of the previous chapters, a bit probably more difficult to game master than they should be, because you run across a lot going on in some of these adventures. And we even have a couple of points where we get like minute by minute breakdown of things going on that the player characters are observing or they're part of. And I gotta say, I found this finale to be kind of a letdown. I really did. And there's a few reasons behind it. And as I mentioned, I want to try to stay as spoiler-free as I possibly can. But there are portions in this adventure. So early on, there's some pretty cool action sequences. And the player characters are actually on board an airship, which is pretty cool. Although, strangely enough, they really don't have access to it again, which is kind of like, okay, so we have airships. Why aren't the player characters just using an airship to travel? And there are a lot of threads that don't seem to be tied up logically. So I do understand that the direction of this campaign kind of changed from the beginning because Andy Law was kind of in charge of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. I think he was in charge of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay for Cubicle 7. I don't think he was just in charge of the director's cut of The Enemy Within. But then he left Cubicle 7. So I think they had only published the first of the 5 chapters. So then things kind of changed midway through. And you can feel it in the last 2 books. So in the first 3 books, there seemed to be this kind of underlying thread to the campaign that sort of changes over the last 2. Now, I do understand that in the original first edition of The Enemy Within, it was the last 2 adventures that people really disliked, especially the finale. So maybe that's sort of why it feels like it changes a bit. But there's a lot of political double dealing and backroom maneuvering that's going on that the player characters find themselves just watching. There are 2 major examples in Empire in Ruins of the player characters just kind of standing around while the game master is going to have to role play these various other NPCs disagreeing and having discussions and negotiating and things like that. And there isn't always something for the players to do, which breaks probably, in my opinion, one of the biggest rules of role-playing games, and that is never make your players guest stars in their own adventure. Always make sure that spotlight doesn't have to be every single second, but the spotlight should shine on your player characters most of the time. Well, as you can see here, this is one of these kind of minute-by-minute breakdowns. And the player characters really aren't going to do much during this. So there are some other things that just don't logically make sense. And part of it is that, like, okay, so the player characters go to vet the crown prince for a marriage proposal. And they have kind of befriended this royal, well, I shouldn't say royal, but this noble house that in earlier chapters of the campaign, they've done things for and proven their value. But the player characters are still just commoners. They're not nobility. And they're sent to vet the crown prince to see if they would make for a suitable husband for this one character, which to me kind of doesn't make sense. And then they're also tasked with delivering the acceptance of the marriage proposal back to the crown prince. And it's kind of like, would the player characters really be doing that? Now, of course, they've come up in the world quite a lot, which is one of the really cool aspects of The Enemy Within. But still, it's, I don't know. It's sort of like, I don't know, you're nobility, and you're just going to go send these characters off to go vet a possible, groom. I don't know. And they happen to be the crown prince. It's the emperor's son. So there are a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes. We have a lot of different factions as well. Now, once again, see how we have all this stuff timed out? This happens throughout this adventure. And yes, most adventure campaigns are kind of railroads. And the first edition of The Enemy Within was a notorious railroad that in many ways actually wasn't very fun, according to what I've heard from people. I've never read it, so I've only heard bits and pieces about the previous editions. So we have a wedding, we have an assassination attempt, and the action starts again. So it's like, oh, okay, so we're past those politics. Now we're going to get back to the action. And there is something for the Emperor that is a symbol of his power that turns out to be a fake, and nobody knew it was a fake. So now the Emperor's power is in jeopardy. So the player characters set off to find this item. And that is a big portion of the adventure. And this is probably where the adventure shines most, is even though it's really, they really don't have to search, because they actually find out that you've got a certain area that they're going to be able to find this in. So it's not like they have to go searching through this valley to actually find it. They have kind of an idea of where they should be able to track it down, which, got to be honest, once again, that doesn't kind of make sense. So Flaming Heron says, you do have to suspend your disbelief to a degree with the story. Yeah, I get it. I understand. My issues are, okay, so I'm going to point out, I don't think this is terrible. I will say it's the least favorite chapter of this campaign, in my opinion, for myself. I think that there are far too many threads that are just dangling out there. If I were running this, I would dump some of these factions, some of the like backstories and storylines for these different factions who are involved. Like there's an offshoot of the Purple Hand. I don't think they wrap up very well. Now, the goblins that the player characters encounter are very cool. I like the Mad Craw goblins. I always like the moon symbol for the green skins. I think that's pretty cool, the Chaos Moon. So what'll happen is the player characters are going to find this object that they need, and they're going to return it, and then all hell's going to break loose. And another aspect of the game, of this adventure, is that we have all these NPCs who have made appearances in prior chapters of this campaign return. And I got to be honest, there's far too many of them. So the big bad turns out to be something the player characters encountered in the first chapter who they really haven't had to deal with since. And strangely enough, they may have defeated. So good luck trying to figure out how you're going to incorporate that back into this. You'd have to pull some strings there. So I think the impact of some of these NPCs returning is really watered down because there's so many of them who pop back up. So then we have the grand finale. There is a big boss fight, and depending on what the player characters have done to this point, how successful they've been is really going to determine how difficult this final big battle is. Because if the player characters have kind of stumbled and bumbled their way through the campaign, which is entirely possible because there's a lot of humor in The Enemy Within, not as much as we've seen previously in this chapter. But if they've kind of, lucked their way to this point, they're probably going to have a very, very difficult time defeating the big bad. But if they have actually been like heroic characters and they've defeated some of the monsters and challenges that they've faced, then they're probably not going to have as difficult a time. So, and then what happens is that the Empire is saved, hopefully. Now, in the companion, there are some various different options for the Empire itself. So what essentially happens at the end of this is, because Cubicle 7 can't rewrite, the Warhammer history and things like that. So they have to end with the Emperor Karl Franz in power. That's a given. They have to. There are some changes to the borders of these different countries and that, which of course have to jive with the Warhammer, the latest edition, with the old world, which I think is a new edition coming out, isn't it? Isn't there a new Warhammer Fantasy Battles Old World that's coming out? Almost positive. Then we wrap up. We've got handouts. Handouts are really nice. I will mention there were a couple of images that are pretty difficult to make out. One is like the wedding invitation. So that is Empire in Ruins. Is it a disaster like the first edition? No, not at all. So let's swing on over to the other camera. I'm going to share some final thoughts and give this a review score. So there are a lot of things to like about Empire in Ruins. Overall, I think that The Enemy Within is an excellent campaign. Now, is it on same level as Mask of Nyarlathotep? In my opinion, no. But that's a high bar, folks. That is at least in my opinion, that is a super high bar. But I think it is an excellent campaign. I would radically change what's going on in Empire in Ruins. There are far too many situations where the players, their characters, are just standing around watching things happen, listening to conversations that go on. I would nip a lot of that in the bud. I know if I had to info dump stuff, little trickle here, trickle there, okay, I'm going to do that. But I'm not going to spend 45 minutes role-playing conversations going on between NPCs that the players are just going to watch. That's just absolutely not my style. I feel that there are way too many plot threads that kind of dangle that, in my opinion, I don't think they're resolved well at all. Some of those I just throw out, just like I'd throw out some of the returns of some of the NPCs. Oh, well, it's because, like I said, there's just so many NPCs who are making another appearance, and maybe they were in Death on the Reich, which is the second chapter of the campaign. It's sort of like, okay, now they're showing up. Everybody's showing up at the end. The manipulator behind the scenes is like the baddie from the first chapter. And I know it's presented like your players are going to go, wow. But the reality is, I think some players are going to be like, what? I thought we killed him. How is he here? If they killed him. But then on the other hand, there's a lot of really cool set pieces. I really like the airship. I love the goblins. I think the goblins are really, really fun. You could have a good time role-playing them. there are some story beats here that I think are really good. And what I would do is I would separate those from some of the rest of what's in this finale of the campaign and focus on that. I really would. So once again, I don't think this is terrible. I don't think it's bad. It is disappointing because I have been like enamored by just about every chapter to this point. But it almost feels like, because I did a little research, I understand that through the different editions that have tried to do a complete The Enemy Within campaign, as well as what may have been planned with Games Workshop way back in the day that just didn't make it, was that a lot of those ideas have made it into this book, and it just makes it too crowded. It really, really does. So Flaming Heron says, yep, it did need a bit of the fat trimmed from it, and pointing out that Massive Nyarlathotep is a world record level bar. So on a scale of 0 to 10, I give the finale to the Enemy Within campaign a 6 out of 10. I think it's worth picking up. If you've picked all of these up in hardcover, I would certainly pick this up. I will also mention that out of all the companions that have accompanied each of the chapters, I do have to say, if you haven't picked any of them up and you're running this, pick up the companion for Empire in Ruins. There's actually a battle that takes place that there's no map in here, but it's kind of fleshed out in the companion, and there is a map, but there's also a lot of advice in that companion. There are some like alternate endings that you can go with, alternate empires, which if you are looking to kind of not do the status quo for the Games Workshop Old World at the end of the campaign, you might want to take a peek. So Russell says, on the whole, they like Cubicle 7 stuff. Warhammer Fantasy Battles and 40K RPG oftentimes have information that the players have to do very little to get, but you can make it interesting, see what strings they pull. So Game Master's Hobby says, which of the 5 Enemy Within adventures is my favorite? It's got to be a toss-up. It's a toss-up between Death on the Reich, and I know that'll probably surprise some people, but the reason why I like it quite a bit is because it's different. Because the player characters find themselves on this boat, and they can actually kind of become entrepreneurs with their boat. And you don't run across a lot of fantasy role-playing games that are not pirate themed or set on the high seas like that. And there are, in my opinion, I think there are some really cool set pieces in Death on the Reich, including the vampire. I know, spoilers, okay. I'm not giving complete spoilers. So I like the vampire, and of course, the castle. And, oh gosh, I can't remember his name. Can't remember the NPC's name. The Roach. You know what I'm talking about. And that castle can be like a complete horror show. You could really freak out your players with the stuff that's in that castle. So I really like that one. And I also do like Power Behind the Throne. So Flaming Heron says, I'm thinking he's going to say Power Behind the Throne. Yeah, I like Power Behind the Throne quite a bit. Personally, I think the first 3 chapters of this new edition are excellent. And you can check out my reviews. They are really, really good. The Horned Rat, I thought was pretty good too. This, it's just, to me, like I said, it's a bit of a letdown. It's almost as if they couldn't decide how what they wanted to really truly focus on with this chapter. That's why there's so much going on. There's so many NPCs, so much political maneuvering and things like that. There's got to be like 60 pages devoted to the politicking going on. And I would have liked to have seen more page space devoted to the conflict that's actually starting to take place within the Empire itself, because the Empire, it's on the verge of civil war. I don't think there's enough focus on that. There is a bit more in the companion about that you can use. So, Sly Blue Demon, I don't know if I said hello. So, hello. They point out Death on the Reich does look awesome. I love the idea of giving the PCs a boat. Yeah, it's very cool. A lot of times you got to realize I review stuff based on how my players would react. And I have run enough role-playing games to know how my group, my core players, maybe they may not all play together, and they may not all play together every time, but I can pretty well imagine how they respond to different things. Once in a while, they surprise me. But for the most part, and that's a lot of times how I review stuff. One last thing I will add is I think with The Enemy Within wrapping up, I think that's a really good thing for Cubicle 7, because it's going to be very freeing for the folks who work on Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Now, we've already seen stuff come out, because I think the PDF came out in late 2001. So it has taken a while for me to get this review out. And I'll be very, very honest. I don't really know what my relationship is with Cubicle 7 Entertainment anymore. They changed marketing people, and of course, the company has grown tremendously. But that's why you don't see as much Cubicle 7 Entertainment news as you once did on the Gaming Gang. And it's because I don't get press releases and stuff like that. I guess they're not sending out press releases. And I've kind of gone back and forth with their new marketing person, who seems very nice. But she's informed me that it's like, well, if you need something, just, you let us know. Where before, it was just, whenever something came out in PDF, they just dumped a copy of the PDF into my DriveThruRPG account, because then I could pull images from it, do a news piece, and if it was something that I wanted to do a review of, that I wasn't going to say assign to one of my contributors because they do the written reviews, I would ask if I could get a copy of XYZ. Now, sometimes stuff just showed up. That no longer happens. So, like I said, I don't know. I assume I'll have an opportunity to talk to Dominic McDowell at Gen Con to do our annual interview. But once again, I mean, this isn't stuff that I want to bother him with. So, just saying, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. So Flaming Heron says, whatever they do next, I'm really interested in seeing the results. Yeah, because I know now once again, I don't know if they're out in hardcover. I don't think they are. I think UK Game Expo was just last week. I think there were a couple of new releases in hardcover. I think one is Ubersreich Adventures Volume 2, and then something else. Flaming Heron says, Dom seems reasonable. Yeah, he's one of my favorite people in the industry. So, Anthony wonders if Games Workshop's going to let Cubicle 7 move beyond the Karl Franz era because they blew up the world. I don't know. But I do know that we have seen some stuff where it's, they're going to focus on another continent. So that's why we had the High Seas adventuring supplement that came out. isn't it Seas of Death or something like that? And then, isn't it Lustria? Isn't that the name of it? Once again, I don't have copies. I don't even have copies of PDFs. So, I mean, I share the news pieces, and usually when I share news, it's because I've gone over to DriveThruRPG and I've seen that there's a new release from Cubicle 7. And then I try to pull whatever images and that I can find to put a news piece together. So last item I saw, and this just showed up out of nowhere, was the PDF for the new Warhammer 40K role-playing game. That I got a copy of in PDF. And once again, it just showed up. Boom, there it was. I got an email saying, hey, you've got something from a publisher. I'm going to log in, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I haven't looked at it because normally I don't look at the, stuff that I get in advance until a physical book comes out. So I don't know. I love the company. I have been covering them since pretty much the beginning of the Gaming Gang. In fact, I interviewed Dom at the first Gen Con Elliot and I attended as the press. And I've tried to do interviews with Cubicle 7 Entertainment every time since. Now, we've not been able to pull it off every time because the con right back from COVID, they did not come over because now they're over in Ireland. So, I don't know. Yeah. Agent Especial says, you ask for whatever you want, Jeff. We love you, and we'll send it to you. You don't have to do that. I try not to cost you folks money. So, although I got to say, there's that Original Adventures Volume 7 that's coming out. I think it's $150 though from Goodman Games. Oh well. So that's it for tonight. Hopefully none of you are disappointed that my high quality, my high standards have fallen for this video. Yeah, I don't know. So on tomorrow's show, I am going to review Hard City. I don't know why I always say it like that. It just, I don't know. Just to me, naturally, it should be Hard City. From Osprey Games, this is a noir role-playing game. So I'll be talking about this on tomorrow's show. On Monday's show, we're going to take a first look at Organic Towns from Headless Hydra Press. So that will be Monday's show. I keep saying Monday. It's Tuesday. One of these days, this new schedule will actually click. Tuesday, we'll be taking a look at Organic Towns. Wednesday, we will have a War Games Wednesday. I have a package that is supposed to be arriving tomorrow. I will show you what we're taking a look at there. And it's not from GMT Games. I should point that out. But it will be a War Game Wednesday. In fact, we'll have a couple of War Game Wednesdays. And then on Thursday, I am going to review the Lord of the Rings role-playing 4-5E from our friends over at Free League Publishing. So stay tuned. That'll be next week. Flaming Huron says, I come here for all of it, good or bad. Sometimes there's bad. It happens. I never claim to be perfect. I've told you time and time again, this is who I am. This is what you get. For good or ill, I can only be me. I used to be a big fan of Leo Biscaglia. I think that's how his name was pronounced. I know this is going way back. And I remember it was, you used to talk about if you're an apple, I think it was apple. If you're an apple, you can never be a banana. You could try to be a banana, but but you're never going to be a great banana because you're an apple. But you can be a fantastic apple. It's kind of how I look at it. I don't try to be anybody else. I'm just trying to be the best me I can be. Alrighty then. So that's it for tonight's show. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ding that bell, because it'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings. God damn it, I said it again. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Central. I can hear the cats running around upstairs. And that's distracting me as well, because it's like somebody needs a timeout up there. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Central right here on YouTube. But ringing that bell is also going to let you know when I upload other videos, such as this month's edition of Why You Should Play 7th edition Call of Cthulhu from Chaosium Inc. If you're watching live, thank you very much. Always appreciate you taking time out to hang with the gang. If you took part in chat, big tip of the cap, because not only are you keeping me company, but you keep each other company while I'm babbling on and mispronouncing fictional people and places. But of course, I also know that a lot of you out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you very much for watching any of the videos here on the Gaming Gang channel. We are rapidly approaching 11,000 subscribers. So thank you very much for being subscribers. All right, everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. I will be back tomorrow with Hard City. And here's hoping each and every one of you enjoys plenty of great gaming with your gang. Oh, hey, you're still here. That's okay. You don't have to leave just yet. In fact, why don't you subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel right here, or take a peek at the latest live stream, or even find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks again for watching.